18. Peace. ASHTAVAKRA said, "In the arising of whose knowing does delusion come about, so much made up as in some dream created by imagining? It's that which shines as happiness, at peace with its own clarity. To that alone is due respect. Acquiring all kinds of things brings much experience, many joys, but happiness cannot be found except by giving up all objects sought by mind to be possessed. The thought of duty to be done burns painfully in the heart, devouring tenderness within. How can there be happiness without a welling up inside of undisturbed tranquility that keeps refreshing heart inside? This world of things that come to be is all imagined in our minds. It's nothing but imagining. In ultimate reality, this world that seems to be imagined is not anything at all. There is no ceasing of these beings that are here thought self-conceived, these that discriminate between what has occurred or not occurred. We think of these as persons who inhabit bodies in the world. Where does one stand in one's own self? That stand is not found far away by looking out extensively across the universe at large, nor can it be attained from something limited or small in size within some body, sense, or mind. It has to be found effortless, unchanged by all activity, unmixed with any differences that may appear to compromise its unaffected purity. It is forever thus attained. The moment that illusion ends, from that same instant when the truth of self is realized, they who seem to be bound now find true self presiding always free at heart. There seeing is found clarified, dissatisfaction is dispelled. All of this put-together world is made of mind's imagining. The self that knows is always free, beyond all thought of passing time. Why then should one who knows correctly be in need of practices that help achieve desired traits of cultured personality, as in the training of a child? True self within each mind and heart is all that's real everywhere, throughout all space and time and world. Whatever happenings occur or don't occur are nothing else but supposition shown created by the mind's imagining. But through its wishful fantasies, this mind is driven, stupefied, by wanting objects of desire. Who knows this comes to certainty, where knowing is at least found free of mind that's driven by desire. But what then may be known or said or done by someone who is thus found free of all desires in mind? A yogi who turns silent thus comes to exhaust all differentiating thoughts like, "This is what I am," or "No, I am not this." But just what this exhaustion means is understood by finding out that everything is self alone, beyond the slightest trace of doubt. A yogi who has come to peace finds no distraction, concentration, no excess of cleverness, no blind, unthinking foolishness, no pleasure nor unpleasantness. In self-supported sustenance, in dire need, in gain, in loss, at home in friendly company, or in withdrawn far away in a lonely wilderness, these cannot make much difference for one whom yoga has released from habit-driven tendencies induced by past conditioning. Then where is virtue? Where enjoyment? Where are riches? Where discernment? For the yogi who is free from dual thought, like this that's done, opposed to that which is not done, there is no duty to be done, nor any compromising taint at heart. Not for that yogi who is liberated inwardly, though seen to live conditioned outwardly in an external world. This kind of yogi takes to any way of life spontaneously, in consonance with happenings that take place of their own accord. Where is delusion? Where is world? Where contemplation upon that? And where is liberation for that someone who is great at heart? Who at the limit of conception comes to rest in peace itself, where all conceiving is dissolved? But what is there to do for one who has no inclination left? That one, though seeing, does not see what is imagined to be seen. There is only seeing in itself, unmixed with anything thought seen. By one who's seen the ultimate reality of everything, it may be thought, "That's what I am," that one complete reality. But what of one who sees no second, nothing but oneself alone? That someone is then free of thought, which goes from self to something else, thus freed from mind's duality. How does that someone think at all? It is from seeing self distracted that one practices control. One who is noble does not get distracted. Having nothing to achieve, what does that someone do? A sage who stands established in true knowing is thus different from most of us who take ourselves to stand in an uncertain world. Just like the rest of us, a sage appears to stand on shifting ground, as circumstances in the world get changed with such uncertainty. But inwardly, the sage lives free, where nothing seen is thought possessed. There, no absorption, no distraction, no condition to act is seen. No act of ego covers self with any taint of compromise. One who is wise remains content, not driven by desiring for what may or may not occur. By such a one, there's nothing done, not even when observed as acting from the sight of those in world. Remaining steadfast in true knowledge, whether doing or not doing, such a one takes nothing ill. As what needs doing comes about, it is then done, while that same self from which the doing issues forth is found completely undisturbed in its changing happiness. One who breaks free from inclinations gets to be thus independent, motivated from within and free from bondage to the world. Thus, in such moving from within, someone who is liberated may be found to act spontaneously. Each act is a dry leaf that's blown by wind inspired from pure self. Each leaf shows self alone through an inherited conditioning. From one who's free of changing world, there is nowhere any joy or grief. Cool-minded always, such a one presides in body unaffected, as though disembodied here. There is nowhere any sense of loss or wish to give up anything, for one who stands established there. Untroubled self is realized, enjoying its own happiness. For one whose natural state of mind is free of calculating thought, what's done comes up spontaneously from standing back in truth of self. There, standing back in self alone, no sense of pride or shame is found, like that affecting what is done by most of us, who take our stand in troubled bodies, senses, minds. This is the stand of ego mind, inevitably compromised, as mind confusing knowing self with acting personality. This work is done by me as body, not by me in my true nature, as pure self. One who adheres to thinking thus attains that self which seems to act, but does not act. It, even in the midst of action, stays completely actionless. It is that knowing light from which all actions are inspired to rise. It's that alone which truly knows, beneath all acts that come from it. One who is free in living body may well seem to act as though maintaining quite the opposite, but such a one is not a fool. Seen even as a person here engaged in world, that person who is free within shines truly blessed, finds happiness unqualified by what may or may not occur. Grown tired of conflicting thoughts that reason in such different ways, someone steady in true knowing has at last returned to rest. Found there established, such a one does not see any sight, nor hear a sound, nor thinks a thought, nor knows an object other than what knows. One who is truly great at heart stays unaffected by distractions or by states of concentration, drawing outward thoughts back in. Thus such a one does not aspire to liberation from the world, nor seeks out objects fancied here by partial personality. One great at heart has come to know, beyond the shadow of a doubt, that this world is nothing more than fictional imagining. Attaining to that certainty, one lives oneself identified as all of the reality that anyone experiences. Throughout all seeing of a world made up of mind's imagining, one lives at heart unlimited and utterly unchanged. It's only one possessed of ego who may act or not act, by one who knows unwavering, unmixed with ego's falsity. There's nothing done or left undone. One who is free must be released from agitation in the mind. Thus, no one free can be a doer, getting driven into trouble or made somehow gratified. In someone who is liberated, mind must shine desireless, with its uncertainties resolved. In one thus free, there is no mind that sets out to reflect within or to engage in outward acts. And yet, Inspired from within, unmotivated from outside, mind sometimes may be found reflecting, sometimes acting in the world. When hearing truth directly told, some unreceptive person thus becomes bewildered and confused, but someone more intelligent may get withdrawn back into mind. Through this withdrawal, thoughts are silenced, showing mind as if perplexed. It's only them who are confused that keep repeating practices of concentration and control. They who discern what knowing is do not see anything to do. Each stands as though in depth of sleep, in just that state which is one's own, where one's own self alone abides. For one who is blindly ignorant, no idleness nor effort can result in happiness found free of our conflicting differences. It's only by determining what's true and right that one who knows finds peace and is there satisfied. True self is pure intelligence. It's what we love, found always perfect, unaffected by all ill, completely free of any world made up from seeming differences. There in the world, as people take to a variety of different practices, they do not know that self. One who stays blindly ignorant does not attain to liberation through repeated practices, but one who's blessed by nothing more than knowing truly stands thus free, devoid of all activities. A person who is ignorant does not attain to all the world's reality, for that is what this person wishes to become, but one who knows most definitely realizes its true nature, even without wishing so. Those who don't know are found in want of true support for their beliefs. They seek to grasp at what they can and thus perpetuate this show of passing fiction in our minds. Those who know better get to cut the root of this absurdity, that mind believes to be a world made up of change and happening. One who stays ignorant does not find peace, for it is then desired as though it has to be obtained. But one who knows has ascertained a truth that doubt can never change. Such certainty establishes a peace that's present at all times, can't ever disappear from mind. Just where is seeing rightly known to come from self for any person who depends on objects seen through changing personality? Those who know clearly don't see things as this or that. They see no more or less than self, which does not change. Where is restraint of mind control for one who obstinately strives, while still remaining ignorant of where it's from that guidance comes and where control originates? For one established in true knowing, mind is guided and controlled from happiness of self within. That guidance is no changing act of any artificial mind. It is completely natural, inspired of its own accord. Thus, at all times, a timely guidance is found present, timelessly inspired from that inmost self, which shines unchanged as knowing light. Some think about a universe that is made up of happenings. Some others think these happenings, which are thus taken to occur, may not in stricter truth exist. One who does not think either way gets thereby calm and unconfused. That's all the more remarkable. Conceiving of subjective self as pure or one without a second, it appears objectified by those of sorry intellect. But they don't rightly know that self. From this confusion in their minds, so long as confusion lasts, their lives are troubled, ill at ease. The mind of one who longs for freedom cannot function independent of what's thought to be outside. But for one who stands in freedom, mind is always independent, functioning desireless, inspired only for the sake of unaffected self within. On seeing objects seemingly like fearsome tigers, those afraid seek hurried refuge in a cave, where concentration and control may, hopefully, be found attained through solitude and exercise. On seeing personality from where it is desireless, it is like a lion reigning free out of some forest wilderness. The objects of our senses then turn out to be like elephants. They lumber off contentedly, or if they can't, they gather around performing courtly services that make a show of flattery. One who is free from any doubt, whose mind is found at one with self, does not have need of treatises that say how freedom should be found. In seeing, hearing, smelling odors, touching objects, eating food, whatever life may bring about, accords with that same happiness from which all happenings take place. By the mere hearing of what's true, someone whose intellect is pure gets thereby clear and comes to peace that shines completely undisturbed. There, Nothing proper nor improper may be seen, nor even plain indifference to be both of them. One who is open and straightforward does what's present here to do. That person's actions are like those done by a child, not calculating what looks good or what looks ill. From freedom of self-governance, a person comes to happiness. Through freedom, someone may transcend beyond this personality. Through freedom, clarity of peace that shines from self uncompromised. Through freedom, one's own stand in self, which is described as ultimate. From there, there's nothing else to find. When someone comes to recognize that one is not oneself a doer, nor a personal enjoyer, then all changing states of mind get tired out and are destroyed. This thought, that one is neither doer nor enjoyer, thus destroys all other thoughts. It then must turn back on itself and get destroyed, so that none else but self remains, just as it is, unmodified. One who knows rightly leads a life that is by nature unrestrained, and yet that life is found to shine with light that guides it from within, to function of its own accord, unforced by anything outside. Not so the made-up show of calm that's artificially produced by those who are still ignorant, whose minds are driven by desire. Those who know surely may appear sometimes in great enjoyments, or it may be at other times they find retreat in mountain caves, but they are always free in mind, unfettered at the depth of heart. There no imagining remains. It has completely been removed from what is rightly understood. From seeing or performing worship, whether to a scholar or a god, a holy place, a woman, or a king, or someone loved, no driven inclination can at all remain there in the heart of one who stands in truth unchanged by mixing it with falsity. A yogi is not in the least affected, even when reproached and made to look ridiculous by servants, children, wives, grandchildren, and by other relatives. Though pleased, a sage is not found pleased. Though pained, a sage is not distressed. It's only someone else like that, some other sage, who understands this quite extraordinary state. The sense of duty makes it seem that something needs to be achieved. This sense of needed doing is what makes the changing world appear. The world is made of this alone. But those who have attained to wisdom do not see this world made up from thought of what needs to be done. They see that any thought of need shows mind in want, and thus admits this thinking to be compromised. No world made up of needy thought is seen by those who know it right. Such knowers see their seeming selves as empty personalities, appearing formed from nothingness. Accordingly, they realize that self which has itself no form. It's that which cannot be transformed, stays unaffected by all ill. One who stays ignorant in mind is worried and distracted always, never free from restlessness, nor even when there's nothing done. But one who's truly capable stays unconfused and unexcited through all duties that get done. One who finds peace in depth of mind, thereby returns from changing acts to stand in peace which does not change throughout all actions that take place. Established there, a person may thus keep on living undisturbed through all activities in world. No matter if the person sits, lies down, or comes or goes away, or speaks or eats, none of these acts can undermine that happiness which always stays uncompromised. One who knows truth is self-possessed, acts for the sake of self within, but most of us act from a sense of wanting what we don't possess. This sense of want makes us distressed. No such distress is felt by one who rightly knows, nor even when shown acting in the world outside. Seen even in the midst of action, one who knows retains the calm of waters infinitely deep. All troubles are thus found dissolved in peace that shines uncompromised. The very inactivity of one who's ignorant gives rise again to action in the world, and even the activity of one who knows partakes of fruits that come from what is actionless. One who is ignorant may show aversion toward things possessed, for one in whom all bodily attachments have dissolved away. For one who does not rightly know, what's taken to be seeing is found always caught in thinking or unthinking what's been thought about. But for that someone who would stand in self, it is by thinking what ought to be thought that self appears. It paradoxically appears, shown formed as blank unconsciousness, which knows no objects seen by body, sense, or mind in seeming world. A sage is one who, like a child, is moved to act spontaneously, quite innocent of calculation, tied to objects of desire. For such a one whose motivation is thus pure, no taint is left by anything that may be done. Blessed is the one who knows true self. That knower always is the same, no matter in what circumstance. No matter whether seeing, hearing, touching objects, smelling odors, one who knows is found the same, untouched by personal desire, disinterested in wanting mind. Where is there any world that changes? Where some show of changing things? Where is achievement to be found? Where any striving to achieve? How can such questions arise at all for one whose knowing carries on unchanged throughout all space and time, beyond all thought of difference? Whoever truly wins success is freed of all objective aims. A person who thus finds release may then be recognized as an embodiment of perfect peace and unaffected happiness. Just that is savored as the essence of one's own true nature, not as seen through personality from some imagined world outside, but realized, returned within to one's own true identity. For someone standing back in self, absorption in plain truth is only natural and spontaneous. No further effort is required. There is no need to interfere, as living functions carry on completely of their own accord. What need is there to say much here? One great at heart, who's come to realize plain truth, is thereby freed from fancied want for life's enjoyments, and for freedom from such want. But one thus free is utterly disinterested everywhere. In such a one, no interested expectation can be found. No act is ever driven by some fantasy of wish for any personal reward. All act that may seem personal must nonetheless, in truth, turn out to be impersonally done. All of this dualistic world, seen here extended forth into a vast expanse of space and time, is a description made from words that need to be interpreted. This play of words and what they mean must finally be left behind by one who realizes self as nothing else but consciousness. But when all words are thus transcended, what can there be left to do by one who is pure consciousness? In fact, this world does not exist. It's all a product of confusion, wrongly showing what appears. By coming to be sure of this, the inexpressible becomes expressed to someone rightly pure, whom thus becomes naturally to peace. By coming to be sure of this, the inexpressible becomes expressed to someone rightly pure, who thus comes naturally to peace. For one whose nature is pure shining, never found perceiving objects that mind thinks are to be seen, just where are any rules of conduct, where dispassion, where renouncing, where withdrawal of the senses or of the mind from seeming world. For one who shines unlimited, not caught in seeing nature's realm of action leading to more actions, where indeed can there be bondage, where can there be liberation, where excitement or despair? Up to the limits of the mind, a world of change is manifest, but it is shown mistakenly through a deceptive functioning. Beyond this tricky show in mind, no world nor any change appears. One who is wise lives free of any sense of mindness, free of ego's falsely claimed identity to be once a changing doer and a changeless, knowing I. The changing doer is a person felt attached to fond desire. The I that knows can't be attached. It's thus that one who rightly knows shines free of all desiring, lives utterly impersonal in changing personality. For one who sees correctly that true self cannot be tired out, can't suffer any pain or grief, just where is knowledge, where a world, and where can there be any feelings, I am a body, this is mine? If someone unintelligent stops practicing restraint of mind and other forms of artificial exercise, it takes no time for mind to get caught up again in unexamined foolishness of fancies driven by desire. A person who is lazy-minded, unprepared to ask sharp questions, will not give up ignorance, nor even when what's plainly true is heard with due formality. Through efforts made in world outside, such a person may achieve a state of mind. Such a person may achieve a state where mind seems to be free of all its fond imagining. But deep within such no-mind states, blind cravings stubbornly persist for objects fondly fantasized. For one who comes to know the plain truth, all need to act is thereby found dissolved away, and yet that someone may still seem engaged in acts, performing various kinds of work, as seen by people in the world. But even while thus seen engaged, someone who realizes truth as seen from where that someone stands can find no opportunity to do or say anything. For one who knows unaltering, beyond any trace of doubt or fear, where is there dark, where light, where giving up, where anything at all? Where is there steadfast clarity? Where is discernment, fearlessness? Where are these to a yogi whose own character can't be described and who is thus impersonal? There is no heaven, nor hell, nor liberation here in life. In short, there's nothing that exists as seen in yogic consciousness. Someone who's steadfast in plain truth does not seek gain, nor gets upset by failure to achieve success. The mind of such a one stays cool. It gets refreshed perpetually by that clear light which does not die. Someone desirelessness does not heap praise on those who've come to peace, nor look to blame those doing wrong. For such a one remains content, the same in grieving as in joy, finds always nothing to be done. Free thus from all excited joy or driven anger, such a one is neither dead to that which lives, nor is alive to outward things that make a dying show of life. Not bound by family affection, nor by objects of desire, not caring even for this body that is thought to be one's own. No expectations bind a sage who shines as nothing else but light that lives in every one of us. Someone established in true knowing finds contentment everywhere and lives at peace with what occurs, no matter how things may turn out. All movements are thus found inspired spontaneously. Such movements go from place to place, inspired of their own accord. And when it's time, a sage may rest whenever energy runs out and gets returned back home to self, in which all movements are dissolved. Not caring whether a body falls back into death or rises into life again, one great at heart has utterly forgotten all the ebb and flow of death and birth, and now rests only on the ground of one's own being as it is. Possessing nothing, moving freely from the depth of heart within, a sage is always found untouched by conflict of opposing things. By standing free of conflict thus, all troubled doubts get torn away. No shadow of doubt remains. That's what's true is found uncompromised. One thus, who has attained to wisdom, is completely unattached to anything that may occur. That one finds perfect happiness in self alone, found absolute unmixed with any other thing. One who is wise lives free of mindness. Earth, stone, gold are found the same. All knots of heart are cut completely. Neither striving to achieve nor dragging laziness takes hold of driven personality. With strife and laziness removed, what seemed a person is found free of personal identity. For someone who stays everywhere, indifferent, quite unconcerned with anything, there is at heart no habit-driven inclination toward objects of desire. Who then can bear comparison with such a one who stays content, established in that truth of self, where each of us is always free? It is from there that one may know, but not by any act of knowing, formed and understood by mind. It is from there that one may see, but not by any act of seeing, shown by changing sense of sight. It's from there that one may speak, though not by any act of speaking, formed by breath and heard by ears. Who else but one desireless could know or see or speak like that? Be it a starving beggar or a wealthy king, it's only one desireless that truly shines. For, paradoxically, no person can achieve true excellence until all fondly held belief in good or bad things happening has dropped away entirely. It's only then that self shines clear as utterly impersonal. What of ungoverned wantonness, or of restrained humility? And what about discerning truth, found so convincingly mixed up with our mistaken falsities? What can there be for one whom yoga has joined back to truth of self? That one who's called a yogi has attained the goal that we all seek. Abiding there, that yogi may be seen to stand uncompromised as an embodiment of plain, uncompromised honesty. For one who rests content in self, untainted by desiring, all pain and trouble is destroyed. How and of whom can be described what is experienced within by one who speaks from such a state? Not sleeping in the soundest sleep nor even in the wildest dream withdrawn from world of waking sense, not even in the waking state aware of anything perceived in world outside or thinking mind. One who is steadfast in true knowing stays contented everywhere, throughout all change of passing states. A sage is always free of thinking, even when engaged in thought, so also free of any sense, even though possessed of them, so also free of intellect, although in full control of it, so too completely free of ego, even when the self that knows is wrongly thought to be engaged in acts of body, sense, and mind. One such can't rightly be described as happy or as suffering, as unattached or as attached, as seeking freedom or as free, as anything that's here or there. One who is truly fortunate stays undistracted, even in what seems distracted states of mind, cannot be found to disappear in states where mind is thought dissolved, can't even be insensitive in states where no sense can be made of what seems utter senselessness, can't be made capable or skilled by any learned accomplishment. One who is free stands self-possessed, untroubled by all sense of what's been done and what needs doing still. One thus attained to self-possession is found everywhere the same. No fancied want drives needful thought of what has or has not been done. Though praised, someone who is thus free does not feel flattered or feel pleased. Though blamed, does not become enraged. One such is not afraid in dying, nor feels happy to be living here in the body, sense, and mind. One who at heart has come to peace does not seek crowds and company, nor any lonely wilderness. One such lives utterly unchanged, the same however things turn out, no matter where or when perceived.